helps if I turn up the level here. Ted Langdell here. We are with John Cassidy, our guest, and we're going to find out more about who John Cassidy is and why he is here as we talk with him about Lunch with Langdell. And we are live, and we're actually going to have lunch a little bit later, and John will tell you about what it is that we are going to be having. So a whole bunch of different things going on here as we talk with John Cassidy, our guest, and we are actually live. John, how are you?
I'm doing good, Ted. It's good to see you.
Yeah, you've been kind of a busy guy in the last several weeks, getting some things happening, a new event happening at, well, actually it used to be at the Peachtree Golf and Country Club out in Linda,
Yep.
Good old Linda, which has been actually starring in, you know, that was a location years ago. You might have been here. You might have remembered when the late actor, gosh, you know, this getting old stuff is getting old.
I'm right there with you.
But basically, I'll think of his name in a minute, but the show was Brother John. Sidney Portier came out and shot some stuff out there. So
yeah, that's right.
That
There's
was
a lot of great things about Peachtree Golf and Country Club that people aren't aware of. There's been an amazing array of, even Darius Rucker last year played golf there, called it one of the best golf courses he's ever played. And for well over 30 years, the San Francisco Chronicle ranked that golf course in the top 20 in the entire state of California. So it's got quite a history. In fact, where we're sitting here eating lunch today, about a year and a half ago, right when COVID got really going, the City Club Bistro we're sitting at today, formerly the City Cafe, 23 years, the downtown really go-to restaurant in Yuba-Sutter, in Yuba City, was bought by Peachtree Golf and Country Club. So Peachtree Golf and Country Club actually owns the restaurant, even though it's open to the public. So it's really a cool spot.
Yeah. So a lot of things have changed since you first arrived in Yuba-Sutter.
Sure have.
And what I'd like to find out from you is, where did you start out in life? Because I don't recall you being born and raised here.
No, I would say I'm a native now, but I wasn't a native when I moved here in 1985. And looking back and thinking about the Rand McNally last place ranking, now looking top 10 in the country, Yuba-Sutter's certainly come a long way since I've moved here, and my wife and I, Christine, in 1985, and we love it here. But I was working for Great Western Bank and got a chance to manage their Marysville office here for a few years, and we moved here to do that. And I was actually born and raised in the city of San Francisco, and hopefully they've turned things around a little bit today with recent election results, and they're gonna get back on the straight and narrow and clean that city up. But I was born and raised in San Francisco and went to high school in the Bay Area, and then moved up, went to Butte Junior College, and then gravitated to the Yuba-Sutter region in 1985, and we haven't left, and we raised our daughter here, and now 2 grandkids, and we love Yuba-Sutter. We think it's a unique island in California where you're 2 hours from every possible type of existence you'd want to have, whether you're at the ocean, you're at Shasta Lake, you're at Lake Tahoe, you want to go into Oregon, you're just not very far from a lot of great things to do.
So how did being a Bay Area boy, a San Franciscan, influence you, and what did you bring to the Sacramento Valley when you moved out of San Francisco and went to school and got involved in activities up here? Tell us more about that.
Well, my uncle owned an Irish bar in San Francisco for 37 years. It was called the Dover Club. It was probably the most political bar in the city. You'd have the mayor at one end, you'd have the sheriff sitting in the middle with his wife, you'd have Senator Quentin Kopp at one end, you'd have the Mitchell brothers from the famous O'Farrell Theater, and you'd have 2 dock workers, people of all sorts of different ethnicities, a lot of Irish, every night in there, and I was just very in tune to kind of what would happen and what could happen in regions based on how people stepped up, stepped in, tried to make things happen from a variety of perspectives. So I saw that growing up as a kid. I also grew up in the inner city of San Francisco, and I saw what it's like to live in an urban center and watch the trials and tribulations. I saw the 60s firsthand. Many people call that period the summer of love. Frankly, it was kind of the summer of stench because a lot of the things that went on in Golden Gate Park and in and around San Francisco really created challenges for people that lived there. I'll just leave it at that. And then growing up, moving out to the East Bay, I went to high school in Livermore. When I was a freshman, we moved out to the East Bay. So I went from the urban center to the suburbia, expanding suburbia, the Pleasanton, Livermore, Dublin, Walnut Creek, that whole region just exploded. So I saw firsthand what happened in suburbia.
So when did you move to Livermore?
Back in 1972. So right when that area was really exploding. That whole Tri-Valley area, a lot of people were getting out of the cities they wanted better quality of life. And frankly, that's one of the reasons I went to Northern California to start my college career. I ended up finishing at USF, University of San Francisco, ironically. But once I got out of the Bay Area and just the traffic, you could just feel the commotion, the traffic. People's lives were just so fast. And the quality of life was deteriorating because everybody was mobilizing in the East Bay there, and the traffic congestion on 580 and 101 was just getting worse and worse. When you come to a region like, Butte County or Sutter County, or even I spent some time in Shasta County, and you have space and people can breathe and you have much higher quality of life when you're not stuck in traffic and you can get from point A to point B in a reasonable amount of time, it changes your perspective on the world. And I could see that. So I was very fortunate to come to a place like Yuba-Sutter in 1985 and be able to be part of a community and get entrenched pretty fast. Kind of funny that the flood of 1986 was such a tragedy, but for me, I got to meet more people and got involved in helping people through the Marysville Kiwanis Club and other organizations I was involved, because what I learned really quickly was there's the amount of giving and the soul of this community during a crisis was amazing to see how people helped each other get through that turbulent period, that 1986 flood, and then again in 97. So, I guess I was meant to, Christine and I were meant to kind of be here.
So you went to school in Livermore, at least graduated from high school there.
Correct.
In
Granada High School, yes. Yeah, a Matador. And if Craig Marcus is watching, nobody likes the Livermore Cowboys, Craig. Yes, Craig hails from Livermore. So we have an ongoing battle. Craig Marcus, of course, the tribal administrator for Enterprise Rancheria.
So you graduated from high school down there when?
That's the rumor. 1977.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We came up here in 1965 from Walnut Creek. So
wow.
I remember when Walnut Creek was developing and the area there was developing, we used to have a great picture window view of Mount Diablo looking from the west. We could also see what became, or the ridge that became, if you went over the ridge, the Rossmore development.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, the big retirement community. Oh, yeah. Big time. Oh, yeah. And you guys, that region was probably 10 to 15 years ahead of the Livermore Pleasanton explosion. Yeah. Walnut Creek, Pleasant Hill, Concord, all that exploded a little bit earlier than that. But yeah, that whole basin there has just become, a tremendous area to live, but a lot of congestion.
Yeah, and it's also expensive.
Very expensive.
The house that my folks paid, I think less than $10,000 for in 1951. When we moved up here in '65, it sold for around $18,000. The guy who bought it passed away, and his niece or nephew or something inherited it, and after some improvements they made about 10 years ago, it's probably worth $1 million.
Oh yeah, no question. Yeah, no question.
Yeah. So you graduated from high school. You went to school at University of San Francisco.
Went to Butte Junior College first. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What did that do for you? How did that affect you or change you?
I made so many lifelong friends there. I was involved in their basketball program, and it was a great experience. Meeting, met a lot of people in the ag business. Salt of the earth folks that, every day ground out a living, and you learn to appreciate people that made a lot of money wearing jeans and worked their butts off. And again, just being, in Northern California and having a lot of space, and it take you 10 minutes to go 10 miles versus an hour and a half to go 10 miles like the Bay Area had become. And it's even worse now. So yeah, just I made my lifelong friends there, and So yeah, I mean, it was just a tremendous opportunity, and then got a chance to get in the financial service businesses with, at the time, Great Western Bank.
So whoops, hello, that's me. We're talking with John Cassidy. He is retired now from the banking business, but definitely not retired from life. Actually, let's get the right pictures and people up here. You know, when you do all this yourself, it can be a little bit of a challenge, especially when you're trying to make sure that the stream itself is not breaking up. And if you've been watching and we've been having a little breakup, I see Rosemary Dow is watching.
Yeah, tell Rosemary she's got to get to those Gold Sox games.
I think you just did that.
Yeah.
But you know, we're here at the City Club, which is the former City Cafe on Plumas Street in Yuba City, and we're spending lunch with Langdell, talking with John Cassidy. John, again, retired from Sierra Central Credit Union. Before that, he was with Washington Mutual, which had been previously.
Yeah, I don't
Western
usually
Bank.
talk about Washington. Washington Mutual was a very short tenure because they had merged Great Western Bank out of business. Great Western Bank was actually a pretty well-run, really high-quality institution that ran into problems based on Y2K and some other things. I wasn't really enamored with Washington Mutual, and Washington Mutual isn't around anymore, so I probably got that one right. So, yeah.
So, but your banking experience didn't start until after you'd gone from Butte County, Butte College, and it sounds like that had an influence on where you wanted to return, or where you wanted to ultimately live.
We wanted to stay in Northern California. My wife's from Ukiah, which is just east of here, a couple hours, right off of 101 and Highway 20 there. And so, yeah, I mean, the rural lifestyle definitely suits us, you know, much better than the urban lifestyle. Just more, again, you can spread out, you can enjoy space. It's just not as congested. Quality of life's much better in a region like this, and we found that out. And we've seen the Yuba-Sutter region grow and gain a lot of, you know, wonderful components it didn't have when we first got here. This area is really becoming an island of destination for businesses and for people that want to, you know, raise families, run businesses, and again have a good quality of life.
Again, we're talking with John Cassidy. We're having a little bit of technical trouble with some of our camera gear here. Live streaming is always an adventure because you never exactly know what sort of circumstances you're going to run into. With the environment, there's a lot of congestion. You talk about traffic and what have you, with internet and that sort of thing, cell phones and what have you. So you do the best you can, and at least we've got one shot that seems to be holding up here, and that also allows us to talk to John. So John Cassidy went to school in San Francisco. What did you study at University of San Francisco?
Oh, business, yeah, and organizational behavior is what my degree was in, and you know, I've always been a kind of a point guard as a basketball player, and mindset, you know, as a basketball player, coach, and organizational behavior is kind of, you know, you're a point guard. You're making sure that an organization can move forward on all fronts, you know, and it served me well in my banking career, because there are a lot of components and a lot of different aspects in the financial service businesses where you're trying to help a consumer reach their goals, and you need a lot of different inputs and a lot of different types of expertise to kind of come together to help people. And when you can manage that well, you gain the trust of the client, the consumer, the customer, if you will, the member in the case of credit unions, and you're helping those people throughout their economic lives reach their goals. And so it served me well in my career.
So your first job out of school, where was that, and what did you do?
Well, I actually worked for a business equipment company, did equipment leasing for a couple years out of, they had offices in Eureka, Redding, and Chico, and actually Ukiah, where I met my wife, which is the reason I met her. I was working down there for a little while. And then when we were in Chico, I got a chance to go to work for Great Western Bank. Richard Moore, who was an outstanding senior executive, ended up senior executive with Great Western Bank, actually in Los Angeles, but he was in the Chico region. Worked for Richard for a number of years, close to 15, and just learned the business. Built a really good network of clients in Northern California. Did a lot of regional marketing for them. Had a great clientele here in Marysville, California for many, many years.